And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week.
And we've been through Thanksgiving and Black Friday, and I hope that each and every one of you had a blessed and really happy and wonderful Thanksgiving. And then, of course, Black Friday, the day when Americans jump all over each other and grab for the best merchandise and the biggest value and bargain, right after the day when we've quietly said thank you for all that we have. There's a little bit of irony there. And because we're taping it early this week, we don't know exactly how Black Friday worked for the economy, but we're told that it's going to be record numbers because the economy looks to be improving as Donald Trump gets ready to take office. And as you know, last week we taped before Senator Bob Casey conceded the race to Dave McCormick, thereby halting the recount statewide. Congratulations to Senator-elect Dave McCormick, who I have said all along will serve with great distinction in the U.S. Senate, and I believe will emerge as a national leader very, very quickly. He's that kind of person, and we are blessed and fortunate to have him as our Senator-elect and are looking for great things from him. But one thing I do want to mention is that this recount, which we said all along was not going to appreciably change the outcome, again confirmed that only an infinitesimal shift in votes occurred as the result of the recount, which should give people some faith in what happens in the actual count. When the recount mirrors the actual count, it means there really wasn't that much going on. Now, having said that, it still is up to us to be eternally vigilant to make sure that there isn't fraud or voter irregularity in our elections. And I think the Republicans in particular did a great job this year with ballot security and ballot integrity initiatives. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I know that fears rush in where angels fear to tread, so I will go very lightly, but I will say that I still have some question in my mind as to how Joe Biden managed to get 81 million votes 4 years ago when Hillary Clinton couldn't do it, Barack Obama couldn't do it, Kamala Harris couldn't do it. There are still some questions that remain to be answered there. Hopefully, we'll get some answers. And as the Trump cabinet gets filled out, you see a very diverse cabinet, probably the most diverse ever, even more so than the one that Lincoln put together, his so-called team of rivals. These people aren't rivals, but they come from very different backgrounds, with different philosophical outlooks, with different demographics that they represent, but they're all part of this coalition that Donald Trump put together in this election year and in the intervening period between the last, and which will go forward. And it is a great opportunity for the Republican Party to cement that coalition and build on it. One of the departments that's going to be very interesting to observe, and it's not really even an official cabinet level department yet, although it will be treated that way, is the Department of Government Efficiency, which will be run by two really smart men, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. Now, they're going to go in and examine how the federal government does business, why people aren't working, for example, why people at the IRS aren't paying their taxes, for example, why there are empty buildings all over Washington, D.C., why it costs so much to purchase certain goods, et cetera, and why there are these congressional appropriations for nonsense projects. We all remember the bridge to nowhere. Well, that pales in comparison to some of the silliness that exists now. So what do we hear from Elizabeth Warren, the senator from Massachusetts, who some people call Pocahontas? She says, we don't need to eliminate inefficiency in government. We don't need to eliminate waste. We just need to raise taxes. And the Democrats wonder why the American people turned their backs on them a couple of weeks ago. I mean, this is the stuff out of the nutty left that just doesn't square up with anything that people of average America can comport with or understand or agree with at all. And so they continue in that hole to dig and dig and dig. And of course, the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, harkens back to something that Ronald Reagan did 40 years ago, the famous Grace Commission, headed up by J. Peter Grace, who I have to say parenthetically, and this is my one brag for the best 60 seconds, he once said that Charlie Giroux had hunted out government waste like a bloodhound and fought it like a bulldog. That was when he was in Allentown, Pennsylvania, with Jack Curcio, the former CEO of Mack Trucks, who was part of the Grace Commission, and I was the chairman of the state chapter of Citizens Against Government Waste, who every year put out their so-called pig book of all this insane spending that goes on in Washington, D.C., where people's hard-earned tax dollars are frittered away, something that Ramaswamy and Musk are going to put an end to with the imprimatur of Donald J. Trump. And finally, just one interesting note. Study came out this week on the average church attendance in America today, which sadly is plummeting. And as they rank the states, top to bottom, the bottom 10 states, that is the states with the lowest average church attendance, each and every one of them was a deep blue state. Now, I won't go any further in characterizing that, but I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's worth thinking about, because there is something to that. And for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.